in the blink of an eye, routinely turns to mayhem. A reckless biker meets his fate. An officer clings to a speeding car, and a plane crash lands just feet from police. Meanwhile, a highway pileup traps an officer, 3 lost kids fight to survive the night, and a hit-and-run spirals into pure chaos. From heart-stopping pursuits to miraculous rescues, these real-life moments will leave you shocked, speechless, and on the edge of your seat. Intoxicated woman leads police on a wild chase. On January 15, 2024, a state trooper pulled over a vehicle in Valley after noticing it was being driven erratically. As the officer approached, he quickly realized that the driver was heavily intoxicated and not fully clothed. Before the situation could be handled, the woman suddenly sped off, triggering a high-speed chase. The pursuit continued southbound, with the driver swerving dangerously in an attempt to escape. Eventually, officers used a tactical maneuver to force the vehicle to a stop, but instead of surrendering, the woman jumped out and ran, trying to evade capture on foot. When the officer caught up, she resisted arrest, pleading and even attempting to negotiate her way out of the situation.
Stop. Stop. I will fuck you.
Despite her desperate attempts, she was taken into custody and now faces multiple charges, including driving under the influence, fleeing, and resisting arrest. The 25 people. The incident took place near Encino, Texas, when officers attempted to stop a stolen vehicle. Instead of pulling over, the driver made a reckless escape, veering into oncoming traffic before crossing the highway. Eventually, the truck came to a stop, but what happened next was completely unexpected. Within seconds, the vehicle's doors flung open, and people poured out from every possible space, rushing into nearby fields and disappearing into the night. The sheer number of individuals packed inside the truck stunned even the officers on the scene. The footage, which recently gained attention again, serves as a shocking reminder of the dangerous and desperate situations that unfold during high-speed chases. Motorcycle pursuit ends in tragedy. What began as a routine night patrol quickly escalated into a nightmare for a Maricopa officer on February 1st, 2024. At around 3 a.m., the officer was at an intersection behind 29-year-old Demetrius Cetis, who was riding his motorcycle. As the light turned green, Cetis, eager to provoke the officer, sped off at 80 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone, prompting the officer to pursue. The biker's reckless behavior didn't stop there. After pretending to pull over, Cetis ran a red light and continued to accelerate, hitting speeds of up to 100 miles per hour.
Shut your bike off.
His lack of experience on the bike became evident as he struggled to maintain control, weaving dangerously in and out of traffic. Despite almost crashing earlier, Cetis was determined to evade capture.
And he's crashed. He crashed out.
However, his fate was sealed when he crashed his motorcycle moments later. The officer rushed to his side, only to find Cetis unresponsive, with no breathing and a faint pulse. A broken neck and severe head injury proved to be incompatible with life. Despite paramedics arriving in under 10 minutes, they were unable to save him.
He was driving horribly, even just to start.
He said the same thing.
Yeah, he almost, when he ran the red light, this guy was pulling out, almost hit him.
Okay, here's the deal. Like for Team Dog, comment for Team Cat. And if you can't choose, subscribe to join my squad because we love them both. Officer left with a broken back. On March 5th, 2021, Officer Patrick McCarty of the Carroll Police Department was involved in a traffic stop that quickly turned into a chaotic, high-speed pursuit. Initially focused on the passenger, 29-year-old Dennis Gear, who had an outstanding warrant, Officer McCarty approached the vehicle. But instead of complying, Gear shoved the driver out of the car and made a desperate attempt to flee.
Stop the car, man! Stop the car! Stop the car!
In a split-second decision, Officer McCarty jumped onto the bonnet of the car, shouting at Gear to stop.
Car! Stop it! Stop the car! Stop the car!
However, Gear accelerated, speeding away from the officer and refusing to obey. As the car picked up speed, Officer McCarty struggled to maintain his grip on the vehicle, trying to hold on for a better position. But as the car sped faster, the officer lost his grip, and after a few meters, he was violently thrown from the bonnet and crashed onto the road. The impact left him with a broken back, and he would spend nearly a year recovering from his injuries. Gear was eventually caught, arrested, and later pled guilty to serious injury by vehicle. He was sentenced to up to 5 years in prison for his reckless actions. Something you never believe. On November 19, 2017, in Clearwater, Florida, 2 police cruisers were responding to a traffic stop on North Keene Road. Just minutes after their arrival, a small plane appeared in the sky. It soon became clear that something was wrong as the plane began descending rapidly, heading straight for the officers. The plane's right wing clipped a tree while descending, causing it to spin and crash onto the side of the road. The plane had taken off from a nearby airport, piloted by 61-year-old Mark Allen Benedict and a passenger. Shortly into their flight, the engine failed, and Mark radioed the airport, realizing he couldn't make it back. In a desperate attempt to save the situation, Mark crash-landed on the road, where the officers were already present. Miraculously, both Mark and his passenger were able to walk away with only minor injuries, and no one on the ground was hurt. Officer trapped in icy. On February 18, 2022, in Shawnee, Wisconsin, Officer Jeff Whitner was patrolling the highway when disaster struck. As he was driving, a massive pileup of cars appeared ahead, and icy conditions made it impossible for him to slow down in time. Jeff's police cruiser was hit by other vehicles before he had a chance to stop. Trapped inside his vehicle, Jeff was thankfully unharmed, though stuck in the wreckage. As time passed, a few bystanders approached to check on him. Despite being trapped, Jeff was determined to help and immediately tried to reach his supervisor.
A little sore, but I'm a little sore, but I gotta try and get a hold of my supervisor at least. I'm kind of trapped right now.
After about 6 minutes, Jeff freed himself from the car and quickly began assisting the other drivers involved in the crash. In total, 39 vehicles were involved in the pileup and 10 people were injured. Jeff's quick actions in the aftermath helped ensure the safety of those around him. Heroes rescue 3 lost kids. In Montgomery, Texas, 3 young children, ages 6 and 7, went missing after venturing off the trail to play near a creek in the Sam Houston National Forest. Their parents immediately alerted authorities, and a massive search operation began, involving helicopters, drones, search dogs, and hundreds of law enforcement officers. Despite all efforts, the children remained lost, and the search continued through the night. The following morning, an anonymous local who knew the forest well decided to search for the kids on his own. At around 9 a.m., he found the children and contacted emergency services for help.
I'm the police. Are y'all ready to get out of the woods? Come on, buddy. Let's get out of here.
The children had spent over 24 hours in the woods, taking shelter under a fallen tree. Although hungry and tired, they were still in relatively good spirits. When rescue arrived, they were guided back to safety by a police officer who reassured them and promised food and rest. Even though the children were less than a mile from where they had entered, their time in the forest was a life-threatening ordeal. Thankfully, the Good Samaritan's timely intervention led to a successful rescue, and the children were soon back in the arms of their relieved parents. Hit-and-run crash sparks chaos in San Diego. An SUV driver was heading west on Palm Avenue with a green light when a BMW turned left in front of him, causing a collision. Instead of staying at the scene, the BMW driver jumped out and ran south on 16th Street. When officers arrived, they spotted a man rummaging through the BMW, but he fled as they approached. After a brief foot chase, officers caught and detained him. Meanwhile, two intoxicated teenage girls at the scene began interfering with police, refusing to back off. As officers attempted to detain them, they became aggressive, leading to a struggle before they were arrested. To make matters worse, two women claiming to be cop watchers arrived, harassing officers and making accusations. The SUV driver was uninjured, but a female passenger from the BMW was taken to the hospital with unknown injuries. The man who was detained was found to be uninvolved in the crash and later released. Which moment shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments and stay tuned for more unbelievable real-life events.